Hey guys, here we go into a film study I did on Joshua versus Parker. This is only going to be round one. Depending on how much interest there is in the rest of the rounds, will determine whether I continue it or I do more rounds or not. Um, I think I'll be doing up to at least round four, and hopefully they're pretty quick, and you guys can get through them kind of in a digestible way. Because I understand that the fight, it's not super fun to watch. Not a lot of people liked it, but I thought there were a lot of like really interesting nuances, and there are some kind of things that I want to talk about. I'm going to be talking about some of the stuff from my previous film study. A lot of the Parker fans were a little upset that I had some criticisms for him, but I'm going to demonstrate in this fight that not a lot changed in his camp, right? There's always the opportunity, like Billy Joe Saunders, who can grow, like, or change one little aspect, right, to create a huge gap in skill or whatever. But Joseph Parker, he was the same Joseph Parker from the last few fights, and the fight went, aside from the fact that I thought that AJ was going to do more to press his advantage. I thought that the fight went more basically exactly how I thought it would. From what I've seen, I haven't actually seen the whole fight yet. I haven't seen the first 6 rounds. I've watched them. I watched the first 4 rounds 3 times, and I watched the fifth and the sixth round once each. But I will be finishing it. I just haven't finished it because of the fact that I got the results were a little spoiled for me. So, but it's not a big deal. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about, right? So right away, Parker comes out and he shoots a jab, right? Now, there are a few things about this jab, right? And you can't really see him right here, but look at how short of a step he takes and how snappy and hard that jab is, how he's standing straight up, right? Good jab. It's a good jab. And Parker's quick, But the first thing that I want to point out is just like I thought would happen, Parker goes to catch the counter, right? But AJ throws a hook, it doesn't land right now, but that's not the point, It's just figuring out patterns, right? And this helps you do your own film studies and get kind of better at that kind of stuff, learning and understanding what kind of things you're supposed to look for, when determining how a fight's going to play out. But I think that this punch winds up becoming more relevant in the later rounds, much less in the first few rounds because Parker is very quick and made it very difficult for Joshua to counter him. But the next thing right here is Parker's offense, right? Now, I talked about this in the build-up. He doesn't set his punches up really well, right? So I'm going to put this in slow-mo because it's just so much easier. But he flashes his lead hand, right? And Joshua catches it, right? He catches it or parries it, right? And then immediately starts taking a step back. And then Parker throws the second flashing lead hand and then the straight left or the straight right after, right? But not really landing, right? Because he kind of telegraphs it. Now, pay really close attention because this is going to become a major theme in the fight. But watch Parker's left leg, and a lot of fighters do this, right? They'll step with another shot. It's not as apparent in this clip how badly he's telegraphing this ability or this setup for his shots, but we'll pay attention to it in the coming clips. But anyway, exactly what I said was going to happen. He's going to start trying to set up his shots, right? And it's a very mediocre setup. Joshua doesn't even have to know what Parker's doing. He just has to say, hey, he's setting something up and take a step back, and that's what he does right here, and he's able to get away. I think that punch kind of catches him on his right elbow, and you see Joshua's arm kind of move a little bit, but because of the fact that he's not calm, he just flies out of his guard to set the punch up. It telegraphs it a lot for Joshua, right? Now the next scene, right, you can see again. Sorry, I wish I could make it go back less seconds. I'll try to figure out a way to do that, to change it. Maybe go back 1 second or whatever. But they kind of jab at each other, right? And Parker's doing a decent job of controlling the space between them, right, with his jab, right? But Joshua again is looking to counter that jab and take that tool away from him. Now the reason that that's important, right, is fighters use their jab to not control the distance, right? I know a lot of coaches say that, but it's a misnomer. Don't think about it like that. You want to control the space in between the two fighters, right? So if there's a guy standing between me and you and the camera, right? The space in between us, that's where I want to feint. That's where I want to be slipping, coming in, right? Give you a probe, right? Feint you with head movement, feint you in, that's where I'm setting my shot up, right? I'm trying to feint you, right? Maybe I dip low, right? And you bring your hands down to block a shot to the body, and then I come over the top, right? Like Povetkin, right? Povetkin did to Price, right? He would feint him low with the jab and then come over the top with the right hand, right? But if David Price is jabbing at him and stopping him from being able to slip in to set that shot up, then Povetkin doesn't have the opportunity to trick Price into bringing his hands down, right? Because now he has to be worried about his jab, right? He has to be worried about that lead hand. Now, there are a lot of different ways to use your lead hand, right? But we're only going to be talking about the one that Parker is using in this fight, which is just a jab, just a hard jab, right? He does do a little of the feinting, right, when he tries to land right hands or he tries to close the distance, right? But for the most part, the way that he controls the space is to throw a hard punch, right? And I have a film study on Kovalev-Shabransky that talks about more in depth about why that's a bad idea, why you have to be able to feint to control your opponent, right? You have to be able to probe. You can't only just throw a jab, right? Because that's why Shabransky got knocked out in the second round so decidedly. But anyway, as you notice right here, Parker shoots that jab. And Joshua is instantly trying to catch him with the counter, right? Because what he wants to do is stop Parker from being able to control the space between them, so he has more opportunities to set his punches up safely and work, right? Very similar if you watch my film study on Vasily Lomachenko versus Gary Russell. Gary Russell has a great jab, right? Fast, piston-like, super quick, good power, and... Sorry, let me check something. And very difficult to get away from, right? But Lomachenko looks in the beginning of that round to take that shot away by slipping the shot, boom, and then coming over the top with his own left hand, right? So slipping the shot, boom, coming with his own left hand, and there's a sequence at the beginning of one of those rounds, I think it's the first round, where he does that, and Gary Russell stops using his jab because he knows he's going to get countered, right? And that's exactly what Joshua is trying to do to him here, right? And then in the very next sequence in the Lomachenko video, you see Lomachenko come in there and land a three-piece combo to the body, maybe it's two-piece, I don't know, whatever. But he starts hitting him up with some shots because Gary Russell doesn't feel comfortable using his jab because he knows what's coming off of it. Now the next situation, right, we've got, again, Parker setting up his shot. Now watch his lead left leg, right? This is where it's really important. He puts his weight on his lead left leg, right? And then he'll kind of snap a jab out there, right? After he puts his weight on it. But when he looks to set up his punches, he'll only tap his leg on the ground and then shoot a punch, right? So step, all his weight, and then he lifts his leg and shoots a hard shot, right? He does do a second hard shot after that, right? So it's kind of breaking rhythm a little bit, but he still takes small steps in order to shoot his jab. Maybe he doesn't know how to shoot his jab from a standing position without stepping with his jab. A lot of American coaches definitely teach that, stepping hard with your jab. I know my coach did, and sometimes it did me some favors. Sometimes it did them for my opponent, depending on the skill gap. But we'll see it again right here. Parker trying to set up his shot. Again, notice the difference in the way that, so he steps right there, right? And then he steps right here, and now he fakes a step, and then he flashes the lead hand. And Joshua knows that means he's trying to set up his punches. So if you watch Joshua's guard right there, right, he goes back, and then he brings up his left hand to catch the possible right hand. Now, it might not look like much, right, but anybody who's ever been in the ring, you can feel it. It's just different. You understand the difference between that. It's very similar to Luis Ortiz versus Deontay Wilder last week, right? When he would flash the lead hand, Ortiz always knew that a right hand was coming after it. When he would step hard with the jab, he knew that no right hand was coming back, so he could counter, right? This is very similar in the way that that Parker is kind of telegraphing when he's setting up a shot versus when he's actually throwing a jab. And we'll see a few better instances in it again, but I kind of want to move forward, right? Now we've got Parker shooting his jab, right? Shooting his jab here, right? The same kind of style, and Joshua was able to figure out, oh, he's not setting a shot up. This is a real jab. He's able to slip it. Maybe it touches him a little bit, but shoot a hard jab to the body. Feinting, right? But also, this is the point in the fight I don't have a round timer down here, so I don't know how far into the round it is. But this is the point in the fight where Parker starts to realize right there, right, that Joshua's countering his jab, right? Counter the jab, right? And he's feinting the jab. So Parker does a great job right there, feinting Joshua, right? Because he has such a fast jab, right? When he flashes it out there, huh, huh, and he gives that little step, right? He's able to bait Joshua out of position, right? Now this is exactly what you want to do with your feint. Get your opponent not only to expose what they're trying to set you up for, if they're trying to counter, right? You can slow their counters down by not telegraphing exactly when you punch, by feinting them. But also you can get your opponent out of position, right? So in this instance, Joshua took an aggressive stance to the feint, right? Showing that he's trying to counter, whereas when you're actually going to throw a punch after, your opponent is usually taking a defensive stance, right? So that feint comes, right? Maybe they go into their high guard and you throw a body shot, right? Or there's another one later on that we'll see that Joshua does to Parker. But after that, Parker realizes that he's being set up for shots, or that he's being countered on his jab, right? And now Joshua feels safe to move forward, right? Parker stops using his jab because he knows that Joshua's trying to time him, and that allows Joshua to get in and start landing punches because Joshua has taken Parker's ability to control the space between them, right, away from him, and now he feels comfortable shooting his jab to the body, right, and also setting up his shot, right, taking a step and throwing that right hand because he doesn't have to worry about the jab, right? He knows that that flashing lead hand is going to get Parker out of position enough that he can land a shot to the body, and he doesn't have that opportunity available to him as long as Parker is controlling him with the jab. Again, Parker's very ineffective offense, right? Telegraphing his shot. Sorry for the far back, but he takes a step and then he immediately steps off of the lead hand, right, and kind of telegraphs the shot, and Joshua is able to move back, right, and get away from it. Now in the very next scene, right, Parker shooting the jab, right, and you can see it's on that same rhythm. This might be the same clip that I showed before. I'm not sure. No, it's not. No, it's not. So he shoots the jab again, right, and he knows that Joshua is looking to counter him, right? So he's waiting there, right? Joshua shoots the jab, right? And Parker takes a step back. He ducks under what would be a right hand, right? But the interesting thing here is that Joshua's setup so far is not that different from Parker's, right? The only difference is that Parker throws a 2, he throws a 1-1-2, whether you get feinted by the jab or not, right? Whether you take a step back or not, he looks to close the distance and do that right away, right? And all that accomplishes is Joshua moving back or moving away from the shot, right? Parker doesn't have an opportunity to really set his shot up. But in this instance, what Joshua does is very similar. It's nearly identical. He shoots that jab. Maybe he wants to throw a right hand behind it, right? But Parker says no. He moves off the line and moves away, right? The only difference is Joshua's not doing it in his doing any more to set his shot up than Parker is, but the reason it looks different is because Joshua isn't throwing punches after, right? He's expecting him to move off the line or whatever. He's not chasing him and kind of flailing around. But also, Joshua is able to accomplish the same goal, right here, with a simple feint, right? He feints Parker, and then Parker feints him again, and then Parker moves off the line again. Now this is exactly the same thing. Just imagine Joshua flashing a lead hand out there and then throwing a right hand, and then Parker moving off the line, and Parker doing it, right, to Joshua, and Joshua moving off the line. It's the same thing, but Joshua is able to control Parker a little better just by using a feint, right? Feint him, right? And that's able to accomplish the same thing. And it makes it so that maybe Parker later on says, oh, I'm getting feinted out of position too much, I'm getting feinted off the line too much, and that's going to make him stay on the line more often, right? Whereas because of the fact that Parker, every single time he does flail out there with that lead hand, right, to set up the right hand, he does throw a combination, right? So Joshua always knows that he's doing the right thing, whereas it starts to second guess in Parker's mind whether he should be responding or respecting the feints too much, because he knows how bad that's going to look for the judges and for the fans, But anyway, right here, great work from Parker right here. This is really good. So Joshua is expecting Parker to control the space between them with the jab, right? And look, when you watch him, he starts leaning into the side, right? and throwing a right hand to the body. But Parker catches him with the left hook instead of throwing the jab, right? The jab that Joshua would have been able to slip and land a great right hand to the body, right? But again, that's just like a little here nor there. It's not really super important, but it is really interesting. And I don't want to like miss like not show it and then have Parker fans, you didn't show his, because that's not what it's about, right? Just talking about the flow of the fight. Now again, Parker on the ropes, looking to control the space between him with his jab, and he does that same move that he did before, where he steps on his lead left leg, he shoots the jab, right, and he flashes out there to shoot it. And luckily for him, he shoots a second jab right to the body. Otherwise, he would have gotten caught with that left hook, really cleanly. But again, Joshua showing that almost every time that Parker shoots a jab or whatever, he's trying to counter it. Not even every time, but that he does want to counter it and take that jab away. But again, Parker, when he sets up his shot, watch his lead left leg, right? He takes a small step on it, step, and starts setting up his shots, right? Now, the difference here, right, he shoots that right hand to the head. Now, watch what Joshua's going to do right here, right? This is literally 1 second after. This is the same frame. I didn't cut this video yet, right? This is the same right after Parker shoots that flash right hand to the head, right? Now, Joshua does the same thing, right? Flashes the lead hand, right? Instead of throwing the right hand to the head, right, where Parker is pulling away from it, he throws the right hand to the body and is able to catch him, right? Because again, he figured out that anytime he feinted Parker, Parker would move away. Anytime he jabbed at Parker, Parker would move away. And he was able to use his ring IQ, right, to set up a right hand to the body with this information, right? That's the thing that so far in the fight that Parker is really struggling with, is making an adjustment to the fact that Joshua is moving away from him whenever he looks to set up his punches. You guys understand what I'm saying? Of course you do. Because if you didn't, you probably watched the video 3 times to figure it out. Or you just turned it off and were just like, man, this guy don't know what he's talking about. Man, he's such an idiot. Anyway, this is the same exact clip right here. Remember earlier when Joshua thought he was going to throw the jab to the head, right, to control the space, but he slipped to the inside and threw the right hand to the body, but it wound up being a left hook, right? This is the same exact setup. Joshua, knowing that Parker is going to set the jab up or control the space between them with the jab, right? He knows that. He comes in, he slips the jab instead of to the inside this time, right? Because last time he slipped to the inside and got caught with the hook. He slips to the outside and goes a right hand to the body right there. Lands a great shot. It might be like a little low, or kind of on the hip, but it's a great shot. It's very well set up and very well executed, in spite of the fact that, well, let's watch it again. I don't want anybody being like, that doesn't count as a punch, But it looks like a clean blow right under the elbow on the side. A great body shot by him. And again, using his ring IQ. That's the difference between Parker and Joshua so far, is that the fight looks very similar from both of their sides, right? Again, setting up the same shot, right? Shooting the jab again. And if you look at his leg when he sets it up, right, there's the little stutter step, right? Off of the real jab, stutter step off the real jab, right? But he puts his weight on his leg first. Now, that was the end of the round, I think, this little scene right here. And you can see how telegraphed those lead jabs are from, let's see, let's get back one more. Sorry, guys. But he steps and he kind of stutter steps to take that extra step, right? And this one, he puts all his weight down and shoots the jab. Puts all his weight down, shoots a jab, right? And you can see that there's a subtle difference in the way that he shoots the jab when he's trying to move forward and when he's trying to commit to the jab. Now, as we saw, ring IQ is so far the only difference, right? Joshua understanding that he needs to make an adjustment off of his jab and off of his feints to set up his shot, so he starts going to the body, right? And Parker hasn't made that adjustment yet, so Parker looks... so he has not as many opportunities for offense, right? Which just automatically puts him behind on the scorecards, right? There's not anything that you can do about that until he figures out an adjustment and finds a way to land some offense. But the next part, another one of the reasons why Joshua was so much more successful is Joshua's going to the body with his jab in this clip, But notice that Parker doesn't counter him, right? Same thing in this clip, right? He's countering Parker's jab, right? But where were the counters from Parker, right? Jab to the body again, right? Shoots the jab to the body again, right? Parker's not countering, shoots a jab right here, Parker's not countering. And then immediately off of Parker's not counter jab, because it's not jabbing with him exactly, right? It's just while he's moving back, right? He shoots his own jab. And immediately Joshua says, no, you don't get to shoot your jab unless you're willing to pay the price, right? And Parker never set a price for Joshua to throw his jab. He never picked an opportunity to start countering over the jab to the body, right? Or the only time that he caught him was, with that left hook when he was on the ropes, right? But he doesn't, because he's only controlling the space with his lead hand, with his jab, it makes it easier for Joshua to counter him, but he's not setting up the same counters himself. And that's kind of the difference between the two in this round. In spite of the fact that their offense was very similar, Joshua had more opportunities to land punches because he was looking to counter the jab and take Parker's ability to control the space between them away, which allowed him to set his punches up better, right? But also he was using his mind to pick up on the patterns of Parker. When Parker would move away from him, right, he was able to set that shot up to the body off of it, and take advantage of the same kind of fundamental strategy that he was using, right, against Parker. He was able to take that away from Parker and still land offense, right? So Parker showing that he has a little catching up to do so far in the fight, as far as countering the jab and setting up his punches off of the information that he has about Anthony Joshua moving away from them. Anyway, this took way too long to kind of get through. My whole video is only 1 minute. The clips is only 1 minute of clips. I don't know why it took 22 minutes. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and let me know if you guys want me to do any more rounds and stuff. I'd be happy to. I'll be doing at least 2, 3, and 4 because there are some really interesting and really cool things going on in there. Anyway, thanks guys.